All right, welcome you guys to Thoughtful Conversations. We're really excited that you joined us today. And today I'm going to let my friend introduce herself to the people.
Hey, people. My name is Queen. I am, I guess, a native of Dallas. I'm an artist. I am a mother, a creative, all of the things. 4-time published author.
Come on, 4 times. Say it with your chest, okay? I love that.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I'm happy that you're here. For one, like, you embody what it means to be a creative. So when I thought
Thank
of
you.
like my creative friends, I was
Mhm.
like, who's a visionary? Who's creative?
Yeah.
Who just lives the creative lifestyle?
Mhm.
And so like I wanted to start today just talking about like, what is it like being in your shoes as a creative? Like, what is your brain on a
Mm.
day to day? Like, how do you manage that?
A lot of prayer, a lot of sleep. But I mean, it's just, I think being a creative in general, it's being able to just live outside the box and just see what opportunities are in front of you. I think creatives, we are a little delusional. We have the ability to kind of like see things other people don't see.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with being just optimistic in general. So I would say I'm an optimistic person. I say yes to a lot of things, and I end up in these weird predicaments, and they normally work out for me. But I don't know. I just love new things and just being in environments such as this. When you told me like, "Hey, would you be on my podcast?" I'm like, "Sure."
Period.
Didn't know you had one, but let's do it. And it's already
Period.
a great time. So I don't know. I'm fun. I think I'm fun.
You are.
Yeah, thank you.
You are.
I just like to have fun, and I just like to, I don't know, just say that I tried.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I tried. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you said that you don't put yourself in a box. And so like I think so many times that like life tries to put us in a box, and sometimes like our careers, our families.
Yeah.
I think about like even like church, but like just like navigating being outside of the box, operating outside of the box always, and being multidimensional, you know what I'm saying?
For
So
sure.
like tell me like within like your past, like, what are some things that you've like been challenged with, and then like what are some things that have helped you become multidimensional?
Well, I think going back to what I said earlier, I'm just one that likes to say yes to things. And so when I'm presented with opportunities, whether somebody might look at it as like just a tragedy, right? And I might be looking at it as, okay, where's the silver lining in this? But I would say just throughout my life, the obstacles I've had was just losing my mother at a young age, and you know having a child at a young age and different things of that. And so it's like, what does navigating that look like? Still being able to have a career, still being an artist, but also still, kind of blazing my own trail, if you will. So, I mean, it's just so hard. I feel like I've gone through so much, but I can say that I've learned a lot. Even with my experience in living in Oklahoma, it was probably the worst and best experience I've ever had, just because of the issues that they are going through, but then how I was able to navigate through it. I could dive deeper, but that's just one thing that really pops up in mind. It was just my experience in Oklahoma and how I navigated that.
Wow. Tell us more about Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yeah, right. Well, long story short, my father's side, they're from Oklahoma. I'm what you would consider a descendant of Black Wall Street. So we have always owned businesses and whatnot. And when I was going through my divorce, I just kind of wanted to change. And people used to ask me, like, why did you move to Tulsa? And all I could say was God. God told me to go. And when I went, I was just going through different obstacles. Like, I broke my ankle. It was the first time I broke anything. And I'm like, okay, is this a sign? But I found out, just sitting back, I'm like, okay, I had to sit down and really assess why I was there. And while I was there, I built community. I opened an art gallery. I really found my love and passion for art and working with artists and my why. it was an experience though, because growing up in Grand Prairie, then moving to Tulsa, it was a completely different dynamic. Grand Prairie is super diverse, and then Tulsa was super segregated, and there was just a lot of racism. And so that within itself was an obstacle, because I'm thinking like, oh yeah, everybody loves everybody here, and it's like, no, actually, reality is there are systems still here that purposefully put people down and keep people down. So navigating that was a challenge, but again, I said yes to a lot of things, and it ended up just opening a lot of doors and opportunities for me. So
I love that. I love that. I love how like you talked about like you started your own art gallery. Like that's huge. Like like coming from something that's so broken, like a divorce. Like the saying goes that broken crayons can still color, right? And so there's beauty in the broken pieces of our lives. And so I love that like you took all the brokenness of what happened in your past and you made purpose out of it.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
And I think like that's truly like what life is about, is like finding purpose. I think about like, I know for myself, losing my dad to cancer, like he taught me everything I needed to know about coaching and basketball, but like utilizing the things that they've given you and still finding purpose, in each step.
You're a beast at basketball.
Do you hear me? Listen,
you're a beast. I've seen you. I'm like, okay, well, Lisa Leslie.
But it's beautiful. Like it's beautiful that like you've taken all of these things and like I want to touch a little bit on like what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just from the art gallery experience and then working at the Minority Council and then my current position, I've learned that I love building community. Whether that's, an art community or like a nonprofit, like a purpose-driven community. I love just galvanizing people with a purpose. And so hopefully throughout, my time here on earth, whatever community I build or I'm a part of, it's fruitful, and something that my son can reap from. Again, like I said, even if it's art, it's creating a platform for artists. So the gallery was specifically for Black and brown artists because they weren't getting the opportunities the other artists of other ethnicities in Tulsa were given. So, I'm hoping just even in that lane within itself that people are recognizing Black and brown artists more and giving them more opportunities, and not just calling when it's, Black History Month or getting close to Juneteenth, but they're really getting a seat at the table. So hopefully just in that lane within itself, I'm hoping that we really start appreciating our artists and not waiting until they die for their art to be worth something.
Yeah.
I want it to really, create a lane now where these artists can get booked and busy while they're still alive and they're building their brands. So that's one thing that's really heavy on my heart is, just making sure that artists have a seat at the table. So even though I closed that gallery in Tulsa, I'm still online and I'm still representing 4 artists right now currently. So
wow.
Yeah, and I still try to find opportunities. So people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm having an event. Do you know a muralist, or do you know someone that could do a live painting?
Wow.
And I have a Rolodex of artists that I reach out to still make sure that they get money in their pockets. Because one thing about it, even as an artist, I think my biggest like aha moment when I had the gallery, I love being able to cut a check. When an artist got that check in their hand and they really seen that they were, their art was valuable to someone, that right there, that whole feeling is super, super awesome.
Ownership.
Yeah, that ownership. And then just like, it kind of just reaffirmed their gift.
Wow.
And so I love that. So hopefully, to your question, that legacy has something to do with just being able to put those artists in, positions to be great.
I love that. You talked a lot about creating a seat at the table. And like, like part of my story is I've been working in prison reform for about 5-6 years now. And creating a seat at the table for Black and brown populations, I think, is so important. I think about one of my best friends, Hobo Dia, shout out to Hobo's art, right? But she like creates murals. You know, she creates paintings. She creates like literally like basketballs and footballs and paints on them and
Oh,
sells them
really?
and grad caps and all the things. But she's been creating since like I've known her in college, and
Mhm.
like, you know, watching her struggle through like finding events to like be able to like pitch her art to,
Yeah.
or watching her struggle like through like finding even like events to like be able to sell her art to, you
Yeah.
know, and like being able to like come alongside her. There's such a need in that space. There's such a need in
Absolutely.
just in the space of creating a platform and a seat at the table for Black and brown artists.
Mhm.
And I feel like watching you, like I see like so much, so many things. Like tell me a little bit about like law school, or a little bit about like your recent grad. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
tell me about the program.
Well, so law school, fun fact, I decided to pursue that because of my experience as an art gallery owner and just watching to dive deeper, I want to be an intellectual property attorney. And I've seen artists' ideas get ripped off, them not knowing how to copyright things and of that nature. And so I feel like there's a need and there's a conversation that's being had outside of our communities. And then when you think about AI coming, it's like, how do you protect your art and you just your IP in general? So that's what really made me want to dive deep into not only being a resource for, you know, financial gain, but how am I a resource for artists being able to be protected?
Wow.
And so that's, you know, that right there right now is a battle for me because it's a lot of reading.
It is.
Law school
It
ain't no
is.
joke. And when you accompany that with, you know, my current 9 to 5 and having a child and all this other stuff that I'm involved in, I have to talk myself into it every day, like, you know, reminding myself of my why for even wanting to do law school. So that is something I'm battling with, but I do believe that's going to be fruitful. But as far as the recent grad situation, that was me saying yes to an opportunity. My boss, Kelly, called me and basically was like, hey, you know, the chamber is having a young professionals cohort and I want you to be a part of it. I had no idea what it was, never heard of it, nothing. And I was like, okay, partly because it's my boss. Like, why would I say no? But then also, it's like young professionals leadership. She sees something in me.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe something that I don't see in myself or whatnot. So I said yes to the opportunity. And we met like once a month. And every class was either how to deal with conflict or how to, you know, hone in on your public speaking skills or, you know, different things in leadership in general. And so I learned a lot, not only for my professional life, but just personal, and how to deal with different personalities.
That's it.
You know, and so I love that opportunity. And that opportunity actually opened the door for me to now sit on the board for the DRC.
Come on.
Yeah. So now
she's on a board.
Yeah, they reached out to me. I made it. It's crazy because there's no valedictorian situation, but they all voted me valedictorian of the class. And the chair at the time asked me to now sit on the board for the YP. So now for this 2025 cohort, I now kind of help facilitate events and, you know, just different meetups and whatnot. So that's going to kick off January. Yep. So
she's busy, guys.
Yeah,
she's
it's
busy.
crazy. And I still say yes to stuff, knowing my capacity is limited. But I again, when you just say yes and kind of just figure out why, there's so much more on the other side. And I already know God has bigger plans than what I can ever think of. And so
for sure.
Yeah, I just say yes to a lot.
I always say that the door of opportunity is always knocking.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think that, like, you know, in our 20s and our 30s, I think we learn what to say yes to and what to say no to. And I feel like, you know, as you're navigating your career, I feel like God is like with you. You know what I'm saying? And so like you can, even if you say yes and you meant no, he'll still catch you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I feel like I'm learning that too. I feel like I'm learning like what to say yes to, what to say no to. But I also feel like it's okay to pivot. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm learning is that like in career, I think sometimes people put you in a box. And I'm gonna go back to this analogy because I feel like people see like one way of like your personality,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to put you in this one events box
Mm-hmm.
or this one social work box.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're multifaceted. You know, you're a multifaceted leader. You're multi-gifted, multi-talented, and so like, tell the audience a little bit about like, what would you tell somebody that like is struggling in coming out of that box? You know what I'm saying? And like not knowing how to like break out of that box and be unapologetic about it.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Well, breaking out of your box, I think, like, going back to your point, like, somebody can say, oh, she does events, but then it's like, what does it take to do events? You know, there's project management, there's knowing how to manage your time, there's logistics. So it's diving deep into, okay, the outside of this box is stamped this, but what different characteristics make up that?
Wow.
You know, like even being an art gallery owner, there's certain type of customer service involved. There's an eye, you know, there's the ability to market and galvanize people into a space.
Yeah.
So yes, the box might be stamped one thing, but you have to put certain things in that box to make it that box. So I think dissecting what it is that you're in right now and what you're into and what makes that. You know, whatever that looks like, I would definitely encourage people to use AI, ChatGPT. Yes. Type in ChatGPT and say, okay, this is my current career, but, you know, what kind of opportunities can this align with?
That's good.
You know, what characteristics and skills, you know, are kind of parallel to this? And just being unapologetically you.
That's what Angel Reese said. Be unapologetically you.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think a lot of that just takes time.
Yeah.
You know, depending on your age. There are some young kids now that are super confident, but then confidence normally is built with experience. Mm-hmm. You know, it's knowing what it is that you want to do and being steadfast in that. So, again, you know, whether you're 10 or 18 or 35 listening to this, I think a lot of that is just knowing what your purpose is and not allowing anybody to kind of like knock you off your square.
That's good.
And if you know, okay, this is the vision God gave me, or this is what I really want to do, if it's like burning inside of you, don't let anybody knock you off your square. You can kind of deviate, like you said, pivot.
Yeah.
But in reality, is it aligned with your values?
That's good.
And is it aligned with your why? And if it is, figure out how to stay on that path. That's the best advice that I can give. And I think that's how I've lived my life is like, okay, I'm a creative. Am I the best painter? No. But do I still want to be in these spaces? Yeah. Yes. So how do I do that? I find opportunities for painters. Or, you know, I'll host a paint and sip. You know, I'll host different events that keep me in the room and keep me aligned with what I love to do, even though I might not be the best at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just kind of figure out how can you still be in the space, even though you might not be the one in the spotlight, but how can you be the one that's still, you know, facilitating what it is that you like.
That's good. You know, I was a point guard back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And so I facilitated on the court. You know? And I think that the beauty about it is that, like, you don't always have to be the one with the ball in your hand. You know what I'm saying? To be able to make a play for somebody else, or to be able to make a play for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
All those positions are important.
And like value every position, because I think that with every position you'll learn, you know, how to be able to create the team that you need. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't realize that, like, you know, in order for you to play, you know, you gotta be able to follow. You know, you gotta be able to like have different roles and learn at every level, so you can own. You know what I'm saying? So you can own your own stuff and be successful at it. And so I think that's the beauty that I'm learning, is that, like, you know, we see the end, right? But sometimes we negate the present. Yeah. You know, and like just being able to like cherish where you are right now is really great.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to our reading assignment we had. It's like, no, you might not be at the top, but you can lead from the middle. Yeah. Or you can lead from the bottom, whatever that looks like. But you have a position and you have something to contribute to the larger goal. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. We'll leave y'all with this. What is it? Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, plans to give you an expected future and hope, Lord. So with that, I
Mhm.
think that the beauty about it is that God has plans for all of us.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Because listen, you dropped so many gems. I was out of listen. I was like, listen. I was catching all the gems, all of them. All the gems was coming.
Yeah, that's an experience. I'm telling you.
Yes,
You know, I'm old, so
yes. But
I'm
listen,
wise.
good luck. Good luck in the coming year. And we're excited. I hope to have you back on the show.
Absolutely. I'm one call away.
Okay. Well, that's it, you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in for thoughtful conversations, and we will see y'all next time.